Good afternoon. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners meeting for this Tuesday, January 30th, 2024. It is 2:03 p.m. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the Board. To my right is Vice Chair Commissioner Wayne Fournier and Commissioner Carolina Mejia. To my left is Commissioner Gary Edwards and Commissioner Emily Klaus. We have Interim County Manager Robin Campbell and Assistant County Manager Rob Gelder. Calling the meeting to order and beginning with the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Edwards.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Vice Chair, would you like to do a land acknowledgement?
Sir, we would also like to start today with the land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge and thank the indigenous Salish peoples whose elders and ancestors have lived on and cared for the land and waterways of this county since time immemorial, and who still inhabit the area today, specifically the Squaxin Island, Nisqually, and Chehalis people, our sovereign tribal partners. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. The purpose of this acknowledgement is to disrupt ongoing erasure of injustices done and to remember history as a stepping stone towards healing.
Thanks, sir. Next, we will look at the proposed agenda for today's meeting. There have been some changes since this morning.
Yes,
The
Commissioner.
manager could walk us through that.
Items B through E have been added to the agenda since this morning's agenda setting. All four items are for appointments to various boards and commissions.
Very good. Any request to remove an item from the consent agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded to approve the amended agenda. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have an updated agenda. Next is opportunity for the public to address the board. And before I go through the guidelines, I don't have anyone signed up. Is there going to be any public comment? Okay, so I will go through the guidelines. The Board of County Commissioners welcomes comments from the public. However, there are some guidelines governing such comments to ensure they are appropriate and do not take advantage of the fact that most meetings are televised. Please introduce yourself, including the area of the county in which you reside. Address the board, not audience or staff. Please silence your cell phones. Speakers are limited to a total of 4 minutes to address the board. Meeting attendees cannot donate any of their speaking time to another speaker. No comments that are lewd and offensive, inflammatory, hateful, defamatory, or discriminatory in nature. Please be respectful. No outbursts of any kind. Comments that are commercial in nature, such as promotion of a for-profit business, are not permitted. All materials provided to the county may be considered public records subject to public release upon request pursuant to the Public Records Act, Chapter 4256 RCW. No remarks about pending land use permits or similar matters that could come eventually before the board on appeal. Thank you for your cooperation. And so, Mr. Trowbridge, we'll start with you.
I provided you folks with a bunch of materials today. I'm sure you've all received copies. The first one is your actual county code, 2110-010, McAllister Springs Geologically Sensitive Area Residential District. It's been county code for 40 years, so all this talk about we used to have that, but we don't anymore. That's expired. That's not around anymore. Here it is. And it says we're going to protect McAllister Springs from poor water quality. On the back page where it's been underlined, five acres you have to build a house unless there's a sewer. We're supposed to get a permission from the environmental health before we put any pesticides or herbicides in there. Of course, they're in favor of the glyphosate. So look at the map. This one here shows the south end of Patterson Lake. The boxed in section belongs to my wife. It's 46 acres. She also owns one immediately north of there, roughly the same size, which has 500 feet of waterfront. That was the part that was left out, again, left out of the vote. 13 properties were left out of the vote, including the railroad trestle. And that's a 500-foot property. That's the biggest property left then, if you don't count the railroad trestle, which has a couple thousand feet on each side. So it's the biggest property that got left out. And as you can see from this map, it's a wetlands. So all this talk about it's not an official wetlands, it's not a conservancy zone. Wrong. So here's one, and unfortunately it doesn't show the lake very well, but I was trying to get the boundaries of the McAllister Springs geosensitive area, and it shows that on this one that it's pretty big, isn't it? And on this one, wherever it says MGSA, that stands for McAllister Geosensitive Area, a big area that the whole purpose of it was to protect McAllister Springs. So I'm not making that up, just like I'm not making up that we own the bottom. You know, did you guys read that case? Mr. Edwards tried to suggest I was hiding it from him, but of course he's seen it 14 times. Maybe he's never read it, I don't know, but make a big stink that I had only gave it to the two new commissioners. The others a pretty naked effort to just discredit me. We own the bottom. You don't. You've cut out 500 feet. Now, you thought that was a big joke at the time, Commissioner Menser. Ha ha, I thought you were happy. Well, you're going to include me anyway. You're going to poison my lily pads, 500 feet of lily pads. You thought I'd be happy, you said. I wouldn't be involved. You misspoke at the very first statement, or you lied. Why did you think I'd be happy if you want to poison my lily pads, even though I wasn't even included in the vote? So I guess I only have 7 seconds left, so I'll sit down.
I am going to respond to that, Mr. Trowbridge. I made a statement because in your initial public comments to this board several years ago, you were worried about the tax, you were worried about being included because of the money you would be charged, and you didn't have the money to pay for that. So when you were excluded from the district and you would not be charged the assessments,
But
I thought maybe that would have, let me finish, sir.
Okay.
I thought that would have reasonably addressed your concern. It wasn't making a joke. It wasn't being disrespectful. It was simply responding to what I understood your public comment to be. At that point, you pivoted your comments and you started talking about poisoning your lily pads and bottoms of the lake and a whole different set of issues. But your initial comments were about the tax assessment that you couldn't afford. So that's why I thought your exclusion from that might have satisfied your concern. That's
No,
it.
I never said I couldn't afford it. And as you know, the most recent time I spoke with you, I said I'd pay it if you just left.
That's
my
years
property
later.
out.
I'm talking about when you came to the board for the first time, back when this first was proposed by a citizen committee back in
I'm willing
2020.
to pay the
I understand
$26,000
that.
over 10 years if you just don't put glyphosate on my waterfront.
Sir, I
You haven't
understand
even
that
told
you've-
the other board members that?
I understand that you've changed your position,
Yes, I have.
but you're going back to something I said 2 or 3 years ago. So I just needed
Which
to
was
respond to
what?
that. Which was that you said that I thought you would be happy not to have been included in the taxing district.
You didn't realize that if one property is left out, that raises the whole issue of you have to draw lines on the map, on underwater lines on the lake? Because that's where you are now. How can you possibly treat my section and you're not willing to negotiate where the line is going to be, even though I've made several offers?
I just wanted to respond to that one point. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Anyone else in the boardroom that would like to make public comment? There's no one else signed up. There's no one on Zoom, so that's the conclusion of public comment. We will go to county manager's update.
Thank you, Commissioner. This afternoon, I would like to announce for the public that the board is adopting a new regular weekly calendar beginning on February 1st. So beginning at the end of this week, the board will hold their regular work sessions Monday morning, and Wednesday afternoon. Commissioner check-in and pending decisions will be Monday afternoons. And the Tuesday morning agenda settings will occur every week. And the business meeting, this afternoon, Tuesday meeting will continue on Tuesday afternoons, but only on the first, third, and fifth Tuesday of every month. And Thursdays and Fridays, no joint meetings of the board will be scheduled on a regular basis. The new meeting calendar will be posted online under the Board of County Commissioners website with meeting announcements. The master calendar will show blocks for work sessions, and the way that the public can find out the topics of the work session will be to look at the website, where they will see a list of the topics at each individual meeting. So it's a new change for the board and fewer board meetings on Tuesday afternoons, but it should work well and be a benefit to citizens and the staff.
Any questions for the county manager?
No, not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We can move to item 3A through E, is 5 consent items. Is there a motion regarding the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, non-debatable motion. Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Then the consent items are approved unanimously, items 3A through 3E. Item 4A is Central Services, lease amendment extension between Thurston County and TCOM 911.
Good
Rick Thomas here.
afternoon, Commissioners. Rick Thomas, I'm the Capital Project Planning Manager, and coming before you today to ask your consideration in the extension of a lease for TCOM between TCOM and Thurston County. This would be for a 5-year lease extension to bring the lease up to the newly established rates for 24 and 25. And here's a summary of what the amendment would be. The square footage will be revised from 9,179 square feet to 10,520 square feet. The term of the lease will expire in December 31st of 2028, and the annual rent will be revised so that in 2024 the rate will be $198,125.34, which is $16,510.34 a month. The rates for 2025 would be annually $202,879.50, which is a monthly rate of $16,906.63. The following 3 years are to be determined, and they will be negotiated based upon ongoing information. So I'd like to move to have you consider approving this lease extension for between Thurston County and TCOM 911, and authorize the interim Central Services Director to sign the amendment. Are there any questions?
I do think it's interim county manager to sign. I just point that out, that's all. Rather than the Central
Thank you.
Services Director.
I'm sorry, it should have said the interim Central Services Manager.
Oh, it should have.
It should.
It does say.
Yes,
interim
I
Central
apologize for the
Services
misstatement. The Central Services Director.
That is correct, the interim Central Services
I
Director.
see. Sorry, I might have been on a different line. I think we were all goofed up, Rick.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
very good. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the lease extension through December 31st, 2028 between Thurston County and TCOM 911 and authorize the interim central services director to sign the amendment.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve a lease extension between Thurston County and TCOM 911. Any further discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item is 4B, also Central Services, change order number 3 to design build contract for Thurston County Infrastructure Upgrades 25610. Thomas Stremski, Capital Project Manager.
Hello, good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Tom Stremke, Capital Project Manager for Central Services. We're asking for your approval of change order number 3 for the continuation of pre-construction and design services as defined in the contract to include further development of the basis of design into an interim set of construction documents and deliverables for final construction documents. The schedule for this portion of work is from February 1st, 2024 through September 27th, 2024. And the cost of this change order is $3,844,857. I'll entertain any questions you may have.
Questions?
I don't have any questions. I have concerns. I don't know, would you rather hear those when we go into discussion?
Sure. Is there a motion?
I move to award a contract change order number 3 for Progressive Design Build Services for Thurston County Infrastructure Upgrades. Project number 25610 to M.A. Mortensen Company in the amount of $3,844,857 and authorize the interim county manager to execute the contract and amendments due to unforeseen conditions only that do not exceed 10% exclusive of any applicable taxes.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded to award a contract change order to M.A. Mortensen Company. Is there discussion?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Edwards?
I guess I'd like to take this opportunity to reflect back in history. So 2 or 3 years ago, when this came up, as it ended up being a councilmatic bond decision for $50 million. By the time we pay this bond off, it's going to be about $100 million in total, and that's principal and interest. And the reason I was opposed to this back when this came up for a vote was the fact that this is a councilmatic issue that eliminates the voters from getting a say, and only those individuals that live in unincorporated Thurston County are going to end up paying the bill, because we've decided that we're going to pay this bond off through REIT funding, and that's the real estate excise tax. And so I'm going to say most of the transactions in the county take place with a buyer and a seller within the county buying and selling versus outsiders coming from outside of the county to make that purchase. But regardless, the municipal areas are not taxed during this transaction, and there's about 150 million people in an unincorporated area of Thurston, 150,000 people in the unincorporated area, and 150,000 people in the incorporated area. So the 150,000 in the incorporated area are not taxed to build and finish this project. And so that's my concern. It's for the county residents, and I believe everybody should be paying the bill. So it's a fairness issue. This is no reflection whatsoever on staff's good work, trying to make this work, trying to get the job done. I think they've done a great job, but I just need to remain consistent in my position. I voted against it at the time, and I have to continue to vote against it because I think we need to rethink how county does business. So that's my own personal opinion. Democratic process will rule. And we all recognize that, but we do get freedom of speech. So thank you very much, Tom, for your hard work on this topic. That's mine, sir.
Okay, any other question?
I guess I will add to that discussion. You know, when we first initially started this conversation, it was the long-term plan of the courthouse was removed from the ballot, and this was something that we could work within our means. And it was something that I heard a lot when I was campaigning, and I heard this issue come up is, you know, working within the means. And these upgrades provide, well, I'm not thrilled about them or, you know, 100% satisfied. You know, it isn't about me, but it's about all of the stakeholders who will be working within those departments and making sure that their space needs are met. And not knowing if there's going to be a long-term proposal, and that's going to be on the ballot, right? And not knowing if voters are going to agree or disagree with that, but making sure that at least all of our stakeholders have the space they need to continue to function and grow within the coming years is the reason I'm supporting that, just because of the promises that we made when we first started out, you know, that it just wasn't this move to the atrium, but it was also making the space that we needed at the main campus. So
I'll make a couple of points. On Commissioner Edwards' point, you know, if incorporated residents should also be taxed, that's an issue that I haven't really thought much about. But what I have heard about is that a suggestion, and not only from him, but other folks, that we shouldn't be using REIT $1 for county, but the law says you must use REIT $1 for county facilities, and a lot of county facilities have to be in the county seat of Olympia. So there's no way getting around the fact that REIT $1, however they're set up by the state and come into the county coffers, must then be used necessarily on projects, some of which will necessarily be within the incorporated areas. But they benefit the entire county. That's just how county government's set up. You have a county seat, and that's where the law says you have to do the core of your business. So that doesn't concern me. One thing I want to add to Commissioner Mejia's point is that if folks remember back to the effort which started way before I was on the board, probably started way before Commissioner Edwards was on the board, to potentially replace the courthouse facility at Hilltop. The number one argument that we heard from the judges and the stakeholders that actually worked there is security concerns about the courtrooms. They were designed in the 70s and not with modern courthouse security measures in mind. What we're doing at Hilltop with this money is not perfect, but it's what we could do within our financial means to significantly upgrade the security at that campus. And we've done, you know, we've gone through painstaking effort to upgrade the design, you know, squeeze expenses where we could to meet those security needs that the court has expressed, and we've gotten a lot of them met, not all of them, of course, but I think that's significant because by pulling that off the ballot, as the commissioners did in April 2020, we really had a commitment to at least address those security and core space needs for the court system. So this is what we're trying to manage with limited dollars. So anyway, those are my 2 cents about it. Okay, with that, it's a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote, and can we do a roll call vote? Katie?
Commissioner Mejia? Aye. Commissioner Edwards?
Nay.
Commissioner Munster?
Aye.
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 That motion carries 4-1. Thank you, Tom. Next up is item 5A, Commissioner's item, a Thurston County Fire Protection District 12 annexation. And are you taking this up?
I'm presenting this, yes. This is a request that came to us from Thurston County Fire Protection District number 12. State law allows a landowner to petition a fire district to annex their land into the district. In this case, the owner of the parcel in question filed the petition with Fire Protection District 12 in March of 2021, requesting that their land be annexed into the fire district. The fire district held a public hearing in May of 2021 and sent the request to the Boundary Review Board. The Boundary Review Board issued a decision in June of 2023, at which time it was sent back to the fire district, who passed a resolution in October of 2023. The fire district has submitted the petition now to the Board of County Commissioners to take final approval action as required in state law. So this is to satisfy the petition of a homeowner who is not currently within a fire protection district. It will improve the homeowner's ability to get fire insurance. It will be a benefit to the fire district. It will take this parcel into their taxing district and an overall benefit, and there is really no downside to this, as it's at the request of the landowner and the fire district. So I request that the board approve this resolution.
Questions for the county manager?
I guess no questions, but I would like to point out to those folks that are watching our meeting that this is an example of how government, I can't think of one downside to doing this to help folks. It helps fire department, helps the citizens, gives us coverage. So I just think this is a kudo to government, which I don't give very often. So thank you.
If I was complaining about anything, it took 3 years.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, do we have a motion on this?
I move to approve a resolution providing the annexation of parcel number 21507220000 into the Thurston County Fire Protection District 12 per RCW 52.04.051.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the annexation of this parcel into Fire Protection District 12. Any further discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you. Next up is Community Planning and Economic Development Shoreline Master Program Implementation Grant Contract Approval. Andy DeFobis, Senior Planner.
Good afternoon, Chair Menser and Commissioners. Andrew DeFobis, Senior Planner with Community Planning. I'm here today to request the board approve a contract with the Washington State Department of Ecology for a shoreline planning competitive grant. CPED applied for grant funds to serve our community by creating a set of implementation tools for the updated Shoreline Master Program, or SMP, which the board adopted last month. Ecology awarded Thurston County approximately $79,000 to prepare materials on several topics that are important to the public and our development services planners. Materials under the grant will include how-to videos and trainings, story maps, frequently asked question sheets, infographics, and lists of resources for landowners who are interested in shoreline protection and restoration. Topics to be covered under the project include, but are not limited to, a summary of SMP contents and how to find information and use the document, explanations of shoreline jurisdiction and shoreline environment designations, types of permits included in the SMP and when a permit is needed or not needed, shoreline buffer information, information on legally non-conforming structures and uses, and building and repairing docks and bulkheads. As part of the project kickoff, staff will also launch a community survey so that we can capture any additional topics that the public may be interested in under the materials we create. A draft contract has been provided to the board for your consideration, and staff are requesting that the board approve the contract and authorize the CPED director to execute that contract. That concludes my remarks. I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Mr. Edwards.
How long did we work on this?
On the grant application or the
No,
shoreline?
on the whole, how long did you work on this?
Several years. I think I took over with the Shoreline Master Program in the summer of 2019, and the board was able to do that initial adoption this past
And I
late
want to,
call.
I would just like to say that this is probably another good example of democracy at work. I didn't always agree with everything the way it went. I'm not sure my seatmates always agreed with everything the way it turned out. But it was a good example of compromise in government and how we need to try to do the best that we can for our constituents. And I want to take this opportunity to thank yourself and Ashley for all the work that you guys put into this very complicated formula, if you will, metrics, if you will, a lot of pieces to this puzzle. And you did a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, sir. Did we get a motion? Yeah, we
Not
did.
yet.
Not yet, okay. I lost track there. We have a motion.
I move to approve a contract with the Washington Department of Ecology for a shoreline planning competitive grant in the amount of $79,243 and authorize the Community Planning and Economic Development Director to execute the contract and approve amendments, including reallocating funds among tasks that do not exceed 10%.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this grant contract with Department of Ecology. Any further discussion?
I guess I might mention to the viewing audience again that if you really want to follow this, there were a lot of hearings, a lot of informative meetings. We've discussed this a lot. If it looks like we're not paying attention today, that's not true. We've paid attention all the way through and spent a lot of time on this. So kind of this is the formality of finishing it up. Thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, a call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Okay. So now we have three linked items, but we'll have to take them one at a time, I think, in this meeting, related to the comprehensive plan. Item, can't remember what, 6B is interagency agreement with Washington Department of Commerce for periodic update grant. Ashley Arai, Community Planning Manager, to brief the board.
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioners. Ashley Rye, Community Planning Manager. So the next three actions are all related to the County Comprehensive Plan Periodic Update. The first two are approvals of interagency agreements with the Department of Commerce to accept funds for completing the update. And the third action is approval of a contract with Burke Consulting to provide that consultant support. I will briefly touch on each request, but of course, actions do have to be separate. So the first action, this is the agreement to accept $700,000 in grant funding awarded by the Washington State Department of Commerce. The grant funding can be used between July 1st, 2023 and June 30th, 2025 to fund the periodic update to Thurston County's comprehensive plan. We are asking that the board's approval include allowance for the director to execute budget modifications not exceeding 15%. The standard is usually 10%, and that's to reflect the state's contract language that they provided to us. And I'm happy to answer any questions about this first one.
Questions from the board on this first item?
No, sir.
I move to approve the interagency agreement between Thurston County and Washington State Department of Commerce for a total of $700,000 for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025, authorizing the director and the Community Planning and Economic Development to sign the agreement and to execute any amendments not to exceed 15%.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the interagency agreement with Washington Department of Commerce. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to item 6C, interagency agreement with Washington Department of Commerce for climate grant.
Yeah, so this is the second action. It is an additional $300,000 being awarded from the Washington State Department of Commerce to specifically fund the climate element update to Thurston County's comprehensive plan. This one also includes the standard contract language from the state that would allow a 15% modification to the contract.
Any questions on B or C? Nope. Okay, is there a motion?
I move to approve the interagency agreement between Thurston County and Washington State Department of Commerce for a total of $300,000 for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2025, authorizing the Director of Community Planning and Economic Development to sign the agreement and to execute any amendments that do not exceed 15%.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this interagency agreement with Commerce for a climate grant. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And we'll move on to item D, which is a contract with Burke, B-E-R-K, to complete elements of periodic comprehensive plan update.
Great, thank you. So the third action is to approve a contract with Burke in the amount of $894,960 to provide the professional services to support the comprehensive plan periodic update. The county issued a request for proposals on November 3rd, 2023 through December 1st, 2023 to solicit professional consultant assistance in completing several components of the comprehensive plan periodic update, which included an environmental impact statement, as well as updates to the housing and climate elements. 3 bids were received, and after going through a competitive bid process, we awarded the contract to Burke, who has relevant experience in completing EISs and county periodic updates, as well as involvement in legislative guidance around housing and climate. Funding for this contract will come from the 2 separate grants that were previously approved, one in the amount of $700,000, the other one in the amount of $300,000, both issued by the Department of Commerce. And this contract will run through June 30th, 2025, consistent with the end date for the county to use grant funding to complete the update.
Any questions for Ashley?
I move to approve a contract with Burke to provide professional services in support of completion of the periodic update to the Thurston County Comp Plan with an amount of $894,960 and authorize the Director of Community Planning and Economic Development to execute the contract and approve amendments, including reallocating funds among tasks that do not exceed 10%.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a contract with Burke for professional services. I'd like to ask a question real quick of Ashley. This is high level, and so if you just be ballpark, understanding that you wouldn't know specifically, but if we added up all the hours that are going to go into this comp plan, what percentage is being done by consultants versus like Burke, I assume, versus internal Thurston County staff? Is it like they're doing half the work or a quarter of the work or?
Actually, it's about 4 to 5 consultant, like 4 to 5 FTE provided in consultant support. So more than half.
How many folks will we have working on this internally?
Portions of a number of different staff, probably around the 4 FTE. And we'll actually have more information tomorrow in the docketing discussion. We've actually developed charts that map all that out. I'm just trying to recall the exact percentages.
Okay, I'm just curious. Thank you. Any other discussion points? Okay, call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Public Defense. Approval of a funding agreement with Washington State Office of Public Defense, SPAR program. We have Patrick O'Connor, Public Defense Director, to brief the board on this item.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Patrick O'Connor, Director of Public Defense. I'm here to ask the board to approve a funding agreement between Thurston County Public Defense and the Office of Public Defense for the state of Washington. This is a result of the State v. Blake decision. As we all know, that decision found our possession laws unconstitutional in Washington. The legislature recriminalized simple possession in August of last year, making it misdemeanors. And the legislature, I did check to the county manager's question last week, the legislature made funding available through the State Office of Public Defense to support defender offices with additional resources. In response, we applied and were awarded, and so this agreement will award us funding to fund 1 public defender to do exclusively that work. We've been sharing that duty now amongst our staff attorneys, and so now we'll have 1 dedicated attorney to do this work for the county. It's a great opportunity for the county. It also supports our LEAD program, which I know the commission's heard all about. We have the support of the prosecuting attorney's office, sheriff's office, for these types of arrests where an individual that's eligible may be eligible to avoid traditional criminal prosecution in our courts and be connected with social services through our LEAD program, hopefully to better their lives. So that's the court. I've been in court today. I've been doing this ever since I was the director. I always address this board as the court. Lawyer foible there, so I'd ask for authorization to approve the contract. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Pat?
Pat, could you, or would you know, how many other state Supreme Courts ruled like Washington State Supreme Court did in this particular issue? Because you mentioned a constitutional issue. I think it reflects maybe on the Washington State Constitution rather than the federal level. Would you know that answer?
I don't know, Commissioner, off the top of my head. I think the issue with this particular statute and why it was deemed unconstitutional was the mens rea element to any crime wasn't there. So in any criminal offense, unless it's a strict liability offense, needs to have some mental state associated with the crime. And that was one of the flaws in the statute. It just hadn't been challenged as such, and then we didn't have a case to take to the Supreme Court. So I'm not aware. Other crimes have been stricken as unconstitutional for a variety of reasons. A similar crime in other states, I'm not aware of. Yeah.
My understanding of that was that there was only a couple of states that had a flawed drug possession statute like we did, and they fixed, it was brought to their attention and they fixed them. Only Washington kind of stubbornly refused to change it, and then it finally went to Supreme Court, and they said it doesn't have the required mental state. So then it created chaos. It would have been a lot easier for them to have fixed it in advance.
Would have been a lot easier.
Very chaotic to try to deal with the aftermath.
Yeah, I agree, and a lot of work, chaos, because the decision came out right as we kicked off the pandemic. So it was on top of the pandemic. We had thousands of new clients. I will say, and this is my opinion, that a lot of good has come out of it as well. So it hasn't been all bad. I think a lot of good has come out of it as well. So making these simple possession cases not felony offenses and the collateral consequences that we've have seen for decades of usually a behavioral health, substance use disorder, personal possession of a controlled substance that would result in a felony conviction or a potential felony conviction, had a lot of collateral consequences as well. So I think this is, through a lot of debate down at the ledge, this is where we've landed, depending on how you feel about that, but this is the state of the law, and this gives us an opportunity to respond. And as I mentioned in the briefing last week, it really also protects our attorneys' staff numbers and hours for general fund dollars, and having this opportunity to use this resource to do the work that we need to do for these cases it's a good deal for the county.
Looking at my notes from when you first presented this 2 meetings ago,
Yeah,
it said that this was a competitive grant.
it was. Yes,
So I just it'd be nice if you highlighted that. Like,
Sure.
we didn't get this automatically.
we
We
did
had
not
to
get
kind of
this
go after it.
automatically. No. We took advantage of an application process offered by the State Office of Public Defense. I think we had a very competitive application, in part because our justice stakeholders here in Thurston County, we had several meetings leading up to the August date in which the law got back on the books, trying to plan as a county on how we could respond. And part of our plan, which I believe made us competitive, is that we developed a diversion plan with our lead program and with support of prosecuting attorney's office and the sheriff's office, because that's really what the bill speaks to. The bill really speaks to, yes, it's a crime to possess a controlled substance. However, we're really encouraging counties and municipalities to create diversion plans because we recognize this is primarily a behavioral health issue. And so we had a plan in place. So I think that component to our application really maybe made the difference. I didn't follow up and ask what put us over the edge, but at the same time, we have, as a county, been actively seeking additional funds throughout these past 2 or 3 years that have become available through specific legislation to continue to support the work that we do, not just for our staff, but for our community, and we were awarded this one as well. So,
Any other questions? Yep.
Well, maybe just to follow up on this.
Sure.
I was, trying to be politely pointing out Washington is unique. I'll just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side of this, I want to compliment Patrick and his group, because when he says the county was putting in for this, doing this, Patrick was putting in and doing this and that, and for the real benefit of the taxpayers that were stuck with this debacle created by the state legislature. I'm just going to tell it like it is. I know everybody doesn't like to hear the hard facts, but thank you for all the effort that you've put in trying to make this as workable as it possibly could be under a adverse situation. So thank you very much, Patrick.
I
You and your
appreciate it,
staff.
Commissioner. And a shout out to, my colleagues, the sheriff and the prosecuting attorney, especially on the diversion portion of this new offense. And if I can take the public opportunity to invite the public, if you have a prior conviction as a felony offense, you can contact our office and we can work with you to get that conviction vacated in light of State v. Blake. Hope that was okay.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the funding agreement from the Washington State Office of Public Defense Simple Possession Advocacy and Representation Program, SPAR, to provide reimbursement to the Thurston County Public Defense Department up to $150,000 for the cost of providing defense counsel, consultation, and representation for defendants facing charges with simple possession or public use offenses effective January 1st, 2024 through January 30th, 2024, and to authorize the Director of Public Defense to sign the contract and any amendments that do not exceed 10%.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this funding agreement with the Office of Public Defense. Any discussion? One item I would, just to clarify, we discussed the unusual term of the contract, and this is not going to end in June 30th, 2024, correct?
No, and I thank you. As you were going through the votes, I was going to update after the vote. I can do it now for sure. The State Office of Public Defense has asked us to sign this contract through June of 2024. We'll be back before June of 2024 as they propose an amendment to this contract that carries the funding through the state fiscal year. So that's how they wanted to structure it. It reads a little unique, but we'll be back with a proposed amendment to this contract that extends the funding for this position through the state fiscal year. That was their request.
Any further discussion? Yes, Commissioner Claus.
I just wanted to say thank you as well for the work you've put into this. I know we spoke recently at the Law and Justice Council meeting about the State v. Blake situation, and I just want to say I know that the state legislature, when they ruled in favor of State v. Blake, it did put a lot of pressure on county government. So I appreciate all of your work in kind of sorting through the details of this, and especially how that impacts the people who are affected by this legislation. It's really important just to acknowledge the tremendous impact that this has on people's lives when they're able to have a charge like this vacated. So thank you for your work on this.
You bet, and thank you, Commissioner. We've had a great team. I can't tell you the countless success stories from clients that have come and gotten that relief from us. A lot of change in people's lives, from being able to rent a house that they were previously unable to. We just had a woman not too long ago who was finally able to fly to a country, I can't remember the country, to see her family finally. So it's been an honor.
Thank you.
I will take this opportunity, since I don't know if the board's heard about this, but there was a bill, I believe, last session that said we're not going to use juvenile points against folks as an adult, and now there's a bill.
Yes.
But they took the retroactivity out of it, but now this session, there's an effort to restore the retroactivity.
Correct.
Which, again, probably good policy, but potentially a big impact on county. And the Sentencing Guideline Commission, of which I represent county governments, was asked to weigh in on that, and we supported it. But I asked them, and they agreed to include language, legislature saying this has to be funded at the state level, a la Blake, if it's going to be passed, because the impact would be very significant. Because we're going to get another whole set of folks who, as you said, thousands more clients. Anyone who got sentenced as an adult and juvenile adjudications were used in their sentencing could then come back and ask for a resentence.
I'm following that very
Is there any breaking news on that status of that bill? I haven't heard in a couple of weeks.
There was testimony this week.
Okay.
I want to say it was yesterday.
Yep.
Today's Tuesday,
Yes.
so that would be Monday. Yes, there was testimony on that bill yesterday.
Okay.
So I am tracking it. I voiced my same support, but concerns for the
Yeah,
funding. because
conditional
those-
support is what we
Right.
did.
So I don't have early DOC projection numbers on how many eligible clients in Thurston County that would create, but it's not just the clients necessarily, it's also additional funding that's necessary, especially in cases when you're talking about offenses that were committed when someone was a young adult and maybe received a very long sentence, including their juvenile points. That also requires mitigation services, which are expensive to present at the resentencing. So it's not just how many attorneys and how many cases, it's additional professional services associated. So I've weighed in on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, hearing no other discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Pat.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, item 8A is Public Health and Social Services, Capital Region ESD 113, Contract 6105 IA 01982. Gretchen Toller, from Program Manager from Public Health Social Services, is here to brief the board. Good afternoon, Gretchen.
Good afternoon, Board of Commissioners. My name is Gretchen Toller. I'm the Division Director for Community Wellness with Thurston County Public Health and Social Services. Today I am seeking approval of contract number 6105-IA-01982 with Capital Regional ESD 113 for the total amount of $63,750 for the period of October 1st of 2023 through June 30th of 2024. The purpose of this contract is to fund strategies to prevent and reduce youth initiation of tobacco, cannabis, and vaping. The funding pays for a portion of 2 staff at Public Health and Social Services to partner with school districts, community organizations, and the community on this important work. Some of the strategies will include engaging youth in identifying strategies that influence their environments related to tobacco, cannabis, and vaping, identifying prevention needs within the community and the schools, and then promoting prevention resources and ensuring that policies are supportive of both preventing the use of tobacco, cannabis, and vaping, as well as mitigating the use of these. I'm open to any questions.
Questions for Gretchen? Commissioner Klaus?
I just have a comment. I wanted to say, I really appreciate this work. I'm actually familiar with one of the community-based projects that took place last year around this. And I really see a lot of value in centering youth voices when we're doing work on the young population. So I just wanted to say thank you, and I'm hopeful to see kind of what comes out of this. I think it's definitely worth contributing the money towards something like this. So I'll be looking forward to seeing how youth are actually involved in this initiative and pushing this information out. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Edwards?
We will definitely bring that back.
Thank you.
I guess maybe just a follow-up on that is youth are 30% of our, roughly 30% of our population, but they are 100% of our future. And I want to thank you for all your effort.
No, you didn't.
Trying to make it work. Huh?
Did you just? You're just reading this stuff off posters.
No, I've been saying that for a lot of years.
That was good.
Thank you. And I 100% agree with you. They are our future, and they are worth all the investment.
Anything else? Okay, ready for motion.
I move to approve contract 6105-IA-01982 with Capital Region ESD 113 for the amount of $63,750 for October 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024 to provide tobacco, vaping, and cannabis prevention services in Thurston County, and authorize the Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign the agreement and any amendments that do not exceed 10%.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the contract with Capital ESD 113. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Gretchen.
Thank you so much.
We will go to 9A, which is commissioner reports of any sort. And I'm going to start at the other end today. Commissioner Mejia.
Today I attended the Olympia Crest 3 open house. and that is a HUD project that just opened 28 units. It is very exciting, and hopefully they have their certificate of occupancy next week from the city of Olympia, so that'll be 28 units that will be available for families here in Thurston. I also attended the BHO exit interview with the Secretary of State, fairly good report. So I guess I'll commend the past board members, Menser and Edwards, for their work on the BHO.
You left a clean on it.
I attended the right-of-way meeting this morning. I will need to have a discussion with the board on this topic in the future. And then I attended, as the alternate, the Regional Housing Council last week. Other than that, I've been working on just a variety of issues in relation to encampments, as well as staff meetings. I guess I'll say that in one of my meetings, I was with Skagit Commissioner Peter Townsend, and he was sharing with me that they have reached an agreement with Seattle Power, because Seattle Power, every time there was rain, they would basically flood their lower area, and I was like, that sounds very familiar. And so I touched base with Ben Miller-Todd on this, and we'll be coordinating a meeting as well, and Commissioner Edwards will be joining me in this meeting because he has done a lot of work on this, as well as Ben Miller-Todd with Skagit County, and kind of see what the terms of their agreement was and seeing if it's something that Thurston County can replicate. So that's one little tidbit of good news, hopefully coming our way in the future. But that is all I have to report on for now.
Great. Commissioner Fournier?
Attended the EDC board meeting where we discussed in length the 2024 budget, which will include a new staff position to serve as like a PIO. Budget components of the EDC budget include the Center for Business Innovation, Lacey Makerspace, the Pacific Salish Economic Development District that has just been created. Other budget items were support the existing team and their professional growth, seek to fill any holes identified that would ensure organization success. Expenses were based on a 10% increase of costs, and they're meeting their critical mission identified by the board. At the strategic retreat, the operational budget was adopted, and then ballots are out for 2024 Board of Directors. And then the Washington Economic Development Association Conference is coming up on 2/28-2/29 at St. Martin's University.
Interesting, okay. Commissioner Edwards?
Attended the meeting with the Lewis Mason Thurston Area Agency on Aging Council and approved that annual budget and went over how we try to help seniors and challenged individuals in our community and trying to always do better. The Kiwanis Kids Lunch at St. Martin's, that turned out great. I think other seatmates, at least Commissioner Mejia was there with me. And goes back to that 30% of our population, but 100% of our future, because that's really what it's all about, if you really think about our priorities in life. And a lot of work on constituent issues on land use and permits and such. And I might point out, just take a little plug for the Thurston County Parks and the Tenino folks down there. When Commissioner Fournier was the mayor, Fournier down there, we've got the rails were finally put up from the trail to the museum, and a good coordinated effort on both those issues. So of getting that, we worked on that for quite a few months, but now it's done. Hopefully everybody will do better getting in and out of there. So That'd be my activities, I guess, for the week.
Very good. Commissioner Claus?
So, on the 24th, I attended the Regional Housing Council meeting. On the 25th, I had a Regional Housing Council orientation where I learned about the history of RHC as well as some of the funding sources that they manage and make decisions on. I also had several constituent meetings, all of which around the issue of encampments. As Commissioner Mejia stated, there have been some discussions, and in public meetings, we've also been talking about this recently, the issue of the clearing of an encampment off of Desmond Drive in Lacey. There have been a lot of concerns about this issue regarding the process that's been used. This is kind of part of the right-of-way initiative from the governor's office. So we decided to approach it through the Regional Housing Council, writing a letter to the Department of Enterprise Services. This letter was sent out just earlier this week, and the asks in this letter are 2 additional weeks for outreach providers to come up with a new by name list. And then within 2 weeks of that list closing, a meaningful offer of housing will be made to those who are there at that camp. After the end of that second 2-week period, trespass citations could move forward. So the reason I'm kind of going into so much detail here is because there's been a lot of confusion surrounding this topic in the community lately, and ultimately at the end of the day, it really comes down to a lack of communication on behalf of all parties involved, and not pointing fingers, because it's really the coordination of everybody involved, including the Regional Housing Council. And I also want to shout out the work that the council has done, as well as county staff, on this issue over the last couple of weeks. But really, you know, it needs to be a discussion between the Regional Housing Council, the Department of Enterprise Services, Department of Commerce, who is the one kind of taking action and implementing the right-of-way initiative. In this case, it was also the City of Lacey and the service provider, Olympia Mutual Aid Partners. And then, of course, I think the central voice in this conversation should be those who are residing at Desmond, because really, at the end of the day, most of us are paid to do this work, but the people who are impacted the most are those who live there at the camp. So I just want to say I've been really disappointed, and my eyes have been open through this process. So I'm personally going to be working on this moving forward, so I'll probably have additional updates next time we meet, but I'm committed to addressing this immediately through continued outreach with this community and those who are impacted.
Thank you. For myself, I attended a fundraiser for the Southwest Food Hub on Friday night at the Eagles Hall. It was in connection with the Conservation District and their climate conference that they had Friday and Saturday. I attended an event by the Nisqually tribe for Chief Les Shai's birthday. It was really a very interesting event at a location I'd never been to before. I don't know, a longhouse, I guess you'd call it, on the Braggett farm. And they had speakers and food and just a lot of camaraderie, and it was a really neat cultural event that I was able to take my family to.
I was told the fish on a stick was amazing. Is that, can you vouch for that?
Fish was good, yes, and there was chicken and there was all kinds of food, so nobody went hungry. It's great. I planted trees yesterday. The board may remember a request that we got for a project at Marshall Middle School. The connection was, it was a joint project with the City of Olympia, because the Green Cove watershed really spills right into the county. Even though this project is technically located in the City of Olympia, it affects the watershed. And so we were able to put a very small amount of county stormwater funds into the project. So I went down there to help plant 1,000 trees with students at Marshall Middle School. And that's Bob Barnes, who's always a super activist, advocate for stormwater and healthy ecosystem. He has a portion of the Ralph Monroe Trail named for him, the Bob Barnes Bog, I think. Anyway, he was involved, and so the projects are always well organized, and the work that he put in was just absolutely incredible. I mean, he he basically pre-does a lot of the holes and spaces them out, and the kids have to like expand the holes, but all the legwork that's done to just lay it out so it's easy for the kids to come in and get their hands dirty right away is pretty impressive. So thank you to Bob, and I appreciated having a chance to do that. Salmon Recovery Council meeting was Thursday, and that went smoothly. This morning, I had my Senate hearing for Sentencing Guideline Commission reappointment, and hopefully that goes okay. They'll decide at their next executive session, and then constituent meetings related to docket items was filled out my week. Oh, and meeting with my new planning commissioner, talk to her about all the upcoming docket items and projects that might come before the planning commission, so.
I would say that Commissioner Menser did not just attend the Southwest Food Hub fundraiser, but he played a Mean Man banjo, so great job on that.
I was supposed to be there just to attend, but then the band, they needed a pinch hit music act, so we stepped up and had a lot of fun doing that. But Stephen Bramwell was there. I'm trying to think, the speakers. It was a lot of community, county folks. Some of our conservation board supervisors, conservation district supervisors spoke. Trying to think, they had like a
Fireside chat.
yeah, fireside chat. That's what I was trying to remember.
And it was all women. It was women farmers and women-owned businesses that were up there. I thought it was pretty cool and pretty just them talking about their experiences in the agricultural world. And
They've got local businesses, like restaurant business, food businesses, to take ingredients from the food hub, like providers, and then create like sort of things you could taste. So you were supporting local businesses, supporting local farmers, and trying out some new creations. So that was kind of a cool model for that event. Okay, next up is 9B, County Manager reviewing the Board of County Commissioners schedule for January 30th.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is your combined schedule where at least 3 commissioners will be attending a meeting or event and conducting county business. You have nothing the rest of today following this meeting. Tomorrow, Wednesday, January 31st at 8:45, commissioners are scheduled to be at the Thurston County listening session. That will be held at the Capitol Medical Center, which is 3900 Capitol Mall Drive Southwest in Olympia. At 10 a.m. Here in this room, you will have a conversation with your Community Planning and Economic Development Department regarding a docket items update. And at 6 p.m. tomorrow evening, there is the 2024 WASAC, that is the Washington State Association of Counties, legislative reception. It is at Octopus Cafe at 610 Water Street Southwest in Olympia. You have nothing on your shared calendars for Thursday and Friday of this week as we are going into the new calendar, so nothing on Thursday and Friday. But on Monday morning at 10 a.m. till 12, you have a work session, and items currently on that work session are follow-up to the public hearing on the agriculture code update and review the interlocal agreement for the 2024 Thurston Climate Mitigation Collaborative Regional Initiatives. So that is Monday morning, and Monday afternoon on February 5th is Commissioners Check-In. Then Tuesday morning, February 6th, we are back here for agenda setting and the week starts again.
Commissioner Edwards and then Commissioner Mejia.
I guess it sounded like we weren't doing anything on Thursdays and Fridays. And I want to point out to the public that we're not having any quorum meetings on Thursday and Friday. But I believe we're all going to be pretty busy on our individual assignments and constituent issues, and all such manner of things. I'll just let it go at that.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that clarity. The reason that the county isn't scheduling joint board meetings with a quorum here in this room is to allow commissioners times to attend the various boards and committees that you are assigned to represent the county on, as well as meet with individuals in the community.
Yeah, those types of assignments just multiplied with 5 of us. And it was almost manageable with 3, and it's not manageable with 5. So we have to kind of just organize the week in a way that better fits all of our needs to do different things on our external committees. Commissioner Mejia.
So for commissioners check-in next week, I just want to give just a heads up to commissioners, just so they're starting to think about it. I am attending the National Association of Counties Legislative Conference, and it's February 9th through the 13th. And so just any topics that commissioners might have of interest in the federal format, if you'll just let me know by the 5th when we're having commissioners check-in. I'll also be checking in with our federal lobbyist. And so just anything that you might have, just while I'm up over there representing Thurston County, so let me.
Where are you
know.
gonna be?
I'll be in DC.
Ooh, fancy.
We'll see how this one goes.
Great. One other item that was just added to your agenda for next Tuesday, February 6th, is we've been requested to take a photograph of the board to post on the website. So at the end of the business meeting next Tuesday, Megan will come in to take your picture. So if you have a favorite outfit that you like to wear for the photo, next Tuesday would be the day to wear it.
Did she cancel it? Because I saw it put up in my calendar, and then I saw it canceled in my calendar.
So we're gonna actually add it to the agenda so that
Okay.
it's noticed to the public appropriately.
Okay.
Separate, being a separate thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cowboy hats allowed or not allowed?
Oh, they won't be able to
All
tell,
those in
Up
favor
to
of
you.
cowboy hats?
they won't be able to tell us apart.
That's right.
Okay, coming to the end of the business agenda, we're closed, or adjourned, closed. Meeting's adjourned.